はい、本日放課後ティータイムが始まりました。Hi everyone, we're USYD's 放課後ティータイム。Yay!
Welcome to another episode of the University of Sydney's Houkago Tea Time. We have many things we'd like to go through, but first. 始める前にまず Acknowledgement of Country をしたいと思います。どうぞお願いします。
Today we are meeting on Gadigal land.We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. 今日、私たちはガディガルの統治に介しています。この統治を代々受け継ぎ、守ってきたエオラネーションのガディガルの人々を尊重し、過去及び現在、そしてその後継者となる人々に慎んで敬意を表します。
はい、ありがとうございます。Houkago Tea Time is a fortnightly podcast organized by Sydney University's Japanese Studies Department, run by Japanese Studies students, made for all students interested in Japanese culture. Before we get into the episode, let's go around and introduce our host for today. じゃあ私からいきます。こんにちは、ニビです。今日はアイスシェイクグレープティーを飲んでいます。Hi everyone, I'm Nivi and today I'm drinking an ice-shaked grape tea.
Yay!
Yay!
Sounds good.
こんにちは、セイラです。今日は午後の紅茶のレモンティーを飲んでいます。Hi everyone, I'm Sara and today I'm drinking a lemon tea.
皆さんこんにちは、ニクソンです。今日はなんかいつも通りにボスコーヒーを飲んでいます。よろしくお願いします。Hi everyone, I'm Nixon and as always I'm drinking Boss coffee. Yay! Well, I hope everyone's settled in, nice and comfy with your drinks ready to go.We've got a very special guest on the podcast today, one of our lecturers, Dr. Matthew Shores-sensei. 本日はご出演いただきありがとうございます。
よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。ショーズです。自己紹介、私、マット・ショアーズと申します。マッシュを短くしてマットになるんですが、何でも言ってもだいぶ多いでも答えますので、今日は、何を飲んでます？これは、豆乳のフラットホワイトを飲んでます。はい。Hi, I'm Matt Shores, and I am drinking a soy flat white.
Excellent, excellent. Would you say you're more of a coffee drinker than a tea drinker?
Yes, definitely. But I've been making the move recently. I just feel more honest when I drink tea. I don't know, it just feel healthy.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Makes me an honest man.
So, as some of you may already know, Shores-sensei is one of our lecturers in Japanese studies. But before we dive into Shores-sensei's research as our special guest, and like with all of our previous guests, we'll start with a little ゆるい質問タイム。今から優しい日本語でアイスブレイキングアクティビティをしていきましょう。
今の時に何をしますか？
そうね、私、マラソン結構好きで、ランニング。でもあちらこちらどこ行っても旅してもランニングシューズを持って行ってあちらこちら走っているんですね。あとは、そうね、いろいろやってます。読書多いんですかね、最近もう詩を読んだり小説を読んだりして積極的に本を読んでます最近。好きな本研究書じゃなくて。
いいですね。普段どんな本を読みますか？
最近読んだのはパチンコパチンコを読んで、でそれ私にとっては歴史の問題も触れるし社会問題 でそういう、研究所じゃないのでちょっと疑問点ある、疑問あるところいろいろあるんですが、でもなかなか、エンターテインメントとしてなかなかいい本でした。でもジェームズ・ジョイス最近アイルランドの作家とかいろいろ読んでます。
興味深い話ですね。
そうですね。あと小説先生は教室に授業の時に三味線が弾くことが弾けます。弾けたそうですよね。下には三味線はどこでいつか習ったのかなという
はい、実は後でまた三味線の話しようと思ってるんですけど、ちょっと書類持ってきて、でも短い簡単な話、三味線は持ってきてないよ。持ってこようと思ったんですが、でも飲み物がメインなので、三味線出すとき、もう絶対に飲み物、食べ物近くに置いてはいけない。それ訳はあるんですが、でもその書類、楽譜とか三味線の歌ちょっと説明しようと思ってもし時間があればでそうですね、大学を卒業してから、日本に行ってマスターに入ってでもうマスターで、日本の伝統芸能を勉強することになってたんですが1年目はそれぞれの芸を、見て聞いて感じてで2年目はその芸を一つだけにして研究する修士論文を書くことになってたんですが2年目に入ったらその指導教授は森永先生というんですが奈良の手塚山大学でその先生がじゃあどれにすんのって、やはり今まで1年見てきた芸の中で一番興味深いの勉強したい研究したい発表したいのは文楽の三味線ですと。でそれ先生もう何も言わずパッといやそれやめなさいと。でどうしてですか。いやもうそれも三味線習いに行けばいいんじゃないですか。それ研究になるかどうかっていう問題。他の芸能にしてくださいって。わかりました。でそれで先生の紹介で通い始めたお稽古に。でそれは奈良の文楽の三味線じゃないんですが、違うジャンルの三味線2年3年間ほど通ってました。
面白いですね。ちょっと三味線の聞くことがあったんですけれど、でもそれが俺の友達の三味線が弾いている時にちょっと変わってしまったのでちょっと
壊れた。
そうですよね。ちょっと
弦が
そうですね。糸じゃなくてなんだろう。糸ですよね。
弦また糸。
糸が壊れたので
切れちゃいました。
切れちゃない。そうですよね。
それは困りますね。音が出ないので。
ね、そうですよね。でもちょっとそうですね。やっぱりそのイベントが起こったらちょっと三味線の見たらちょっと主張が合っているので。
でも三味線弾けなくても三味線自体も銅があってそういうそれぞれの部分、木でできててその皮だいたい猫の皮またはもうちょっと安いバージョンは犬の皮使ってるんですがでそれ見るだけでも結構面白くて、それぞれの部分見て歴史も結構深い。
面白いですね。じゃあ好きな食べ物は何ですか？
もう結構何でも好きですよ。日本のオーストラリアの一般的、そうですね。最近コロナ禍ずっとロックダウン隔離しないといけなかったんですがそのコロナの趣味みんなパンを手作りパンを作るとかで私はホームセンターに行ってバーベキューを買って でバーベキュー、それぞれのレシピを試してみて、でそのバーベキューの中の、ピッツァストーンっていうその石台みたいなものをバーベキューに入れて、その石が熱くなるわけで、その上にピッツァの生地を乗せて、その上にソースとか好きな具を入れて、チーズだったり野菜だったり肉だったりで、もう締めて燻製そのなんていうの炭火焼きピッツァwood fired ピッツァをちょっと自分で言うのあれなんだけどうまくなって、で最近も昨日も作って一人で、でそれ一人で全部食べた。はい、ピッツァかなまだピッツァかって。
手作りの
そう、ピッツァ好きですね。でも結構嫌いなもの、レバニーズとかエジプトとか、でもシドニーに来た、もう2019年にシドニーに来たんですが、その来た理由一つはそれぞれの、民族移民文化があって、それぞれの料理がある、そのダイバーシティがあって、もう前の町はあまりなかったので、とにかく面白い町に行きたい、美味しいものが食べたい。だからもううちでなくて、もう外に出ていろんなもの食べるのが好きですね。
そうですね。オーストラリアに来たからアメリカとオーストラリアで一番最もびっくりしたことは何だと思いますか？
英語。オーストラリア英語。わかるんですが、それぞれの、言い回し、スラングあるんですが、で私も落語をやるとき、時々最初の方は枕というんですが、時々オーストラリア人のモノマネをする。オーストラリア英語を何か言ってみるとか。で何回かやったことあるんですが、大体オーストラリア人にすごい冷たい目で見られる、腕を組んで、いや、なめ、it's not it
ぴったり
で、でも頑張ってます。いろんなスラングがあって、同じ英語であるはずなのに全然違う。で、イギリスにも3年間住んでて、その英語も違いますし、で、勉強になりましたね。私、アメリカ英語なんですが、それは正しい英語とは言えないですね。それぞれの英語があって、面白いですね。
ですね。
面白いですね。Okay. As you may know, Shores-sensei specializes in Japanese literature, more specifically, the literary arts and entertainment of the Edo period. Since we're so fortunate to have you here today, we'd love to take a deeper dive into your research. Most students probably only know you from the classroom, so this is a chance to share more about your field and the kinds of projects you've been working on. So, as sort of, the first question then, what first drew you to focus on Japanese literature in your research? So the first question was, what drew you first to focus on Japanese literature?
I don't have a kind of traditional path. Nobody has a traditional path into Japanese studies, but I had no background in Japanese when I was in high school or before that, of course. The only contact I had with Japanese culture was through toys. I played with Transformers growing up. I watched, Transformers and GoBots and those things, and I didn't even know they were from Japan originally. And I watched, the Karate Kid when I was little, and I knew karate was Japanese. But when I got to high school, I even sang in concert choir, and there was a woman who sat behind me. I sang tenor and she sang alto, and her name was Mandy Matsuda. I didn't even know her name was Japanese. So then I go to university, become a theater arts major, and my parents were very supportive of me. They didn't say, no, we really think you ought to do something else. But when I told my parents that, I see some of my friends, they're amazing actors and they're going to go so much further than me, but everybody's working at convenience stores and, and I don't know about my future. And I think they jumped on the opportunity to say, well, just in case you haven't thought about it, what are you thinking about for a plan B? And I'm thinking, I told them I've always been interested in languages. I grew up speaking a little bit of Spanish, and Dad said, great, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, Spanish, of course. And he said, no, everybody studies Spanish. This is like West Coast America, but America in general, a lot of people study Spanish. And I said, okay, Dad, since you're so smart, what am I going to study? And he says, without skipping a beat, Japanese. Like, why on earth would I ever want to study Japanese? I have no connection to it whatsoever. And my dad's a machinist, and his company imports heavy machinery to do work, computer-aided drafting in their tool room. And he was thinking big money because these machines cost $500,000, $1 million, up to $5 million. If you could cut out the middleman, you could sell these machines. Think about the commissions you can get. So he was thinking money. But I'm a theater guy. Who wants money, right? So anyway, I went to continued university, and Mom and Dad said they would help me a bit with the tuition. And I was, going to school. I was paying for it as I went. I was on school loans, and they said they'd give me some money. I'm thinking, I'll do anything for $20. I didn't really say, but you know where I'm going with that. So they gave me some money. I started studying Japanese, and it was tough. So that's Japanese. And then what changed it all for me was I met some Japanese friends. That always makes it nice. And then I saw a class advertised in the schedule that was traditional Japanese theater. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Japan has a theater? And then I went to study with the teacher, and he says, I like you. You're a theater guy. But I also teach literature. You should take my literature class next semester. And I did, and that's how it all started.
Wow. I feel like the thing with everyone in Japanese studies, what I find is everyone's route is very non-linear, is what I've been finding. Because everyone has a completely different background, if I'm aware. Nivi's from education background. Sarah's from law, and I'm from engineering. So it's very interesting how sort of our journeys kind of start when we start in our sort of Japanese language learning. But yeah, oh wow.
I have a bit of a question, kind of building on that. Having started taking that, I assume, Japanese literature course that was offered, what about it was so eye-opening, or what made you more interested in Japanese as a whole from that?
The passion that my professor had, he was so enthusiastic. His name is Larry Comans, and he was one of the professors at Portland State University, where I went for undergrad. And he was a student of the famous Japanologist Donald Keene. So that makes me Donald Keene's grand pupil. Right. And so Professor Comans was so passionate about his work in theater, in literature, and he loved students. And I wasn't from an academic background. I came from a working class family, and when I first told my parents, I'm going to go to university, my mom literally laughed. She's like, you? It's like, I remember what you were like as a high school student growing up, but I wanted to follow friends to school. I wanted to be social, and when I met Larry Comans, he made me think, wow, I'm here for the subject now. It changed everything, because it became, university was already cool because my friends were there. We would hang out, we would go do things. But that was my first contact with academia. Not that I was writing or, doing anything theoretical, but it was a game changer for me.
And in terms of actually your sort of field of expertise, of course, it's within sort of the Edo period, sort of literary arts, right?
I'm a chameleon. Yeah, I do everything. Everything. Early modern.
So in terms of, I guess, one aspect of it is definitely rakugo, right?
Yep.
That you've definitely done
Which
a
is
lot of
literature.
literature, right? A lot of extensive research about it. So I was just wondering, for listeners especially who may not be that familiar with rakugo, how would you describe it?
Comic storytelling in Japan that's been around for generations. One storyteller tells the stories sitting down, kneeling on a cushion. They perform all the characters, doing voices. They change characters by shifting their gaze, character A to character B. Traditionally, it was only men that performed this, but women have been accepted into the ranks as professionals for the last 50 years. And there were women before, as early as the Meiji period. It's documented in, say, newspaper articles and whatnot. It's largely a comical art, but it's also a serious art. There can be human dramas. Rakugo can make you cry, but the point is rakugo always ends on a light note. Makes you feel good. It sends you on your way, maybe hopefully feeling better than when you came in. And when I said rakugo is literature earlier, it is a storytelling art. It's a performance art. It can be very theatrical. The Osaka variety, as opposed to the Tokyo variety, is more musical, even cinematic in some ways. But I also look at it as a form of literature because it's tied to literary genres that date back to the Edo period.
And speaking of actually with sort of, I guess, two main sort of styles then of rakugo, because I think most people that are familiar with rakugo will probably be most familiar with sort of Edo style. So I think, if I recall from just briefly reading, I think your book on, Kamigata rakugo, how would you best sort of, I guess, describe, the sort of main characteristics or differences that you would see? So you're telling me you didn't read my book in preparation for this podcast? Skimmed through it.
Well, you know what my father says, because I did give my father a copy of the book, and I had to, usually don't call my dad. I usually call my mom and say, "How's Dad doing?" And has he cracked the book yet? And Mom said, "Oh no, but it's on his nightstand." And a couple weeks later, I asked Mom, "So Mom, has Dad started reading my book?" "Oh, I don't know, but it's on his nightstand." And then next time we talk, guess what? Dad started reading your book. And I said, "Oh yeah, and well, what did he say?" He says it's a wonderful book and it's best read right before bedtime because it puts me right to sleep. But hey, fair enough. It's academic, right? But the differences between the reason I had to write the book is precisely because of what you said a minute ago. Is most people know about the Edo or the Tokyo variety, and that's the case with most things in Japan, right? And we can come back to that if you want and talk about that. We can problematize that. There's a reason why the language we study in our language textbooks is Hyojungo. And what is Hyojungo? It's Tokyo Japanese. Yeah. And so same thing with histories, language, a lot of things that have been researched in Japan, and that trend continued outside of Japan, is the focus was on the capital, on the center of power. And so when it was my job in master's and PhD to identify something that nobody has worked on, that's the aim, especially of PhD, doing something that nobody has worked on before. And so I was telling you about shamisen. That was my first choice, and I was told no by Morinaga sensei. And my second choice was rakugo. And of course, he told me no to that too, but I begged him. I said, "Please, let me do rakugo." I really wanted to do rakugo, and he said, "Okay." And and that was it, because there was literally, almost nothing written on Kamigata rakugo, the Osaka variety. And that's where I was spending all my time. Until then, I was in Nara, in Osaka, I was in Kansai, and I thought, well, hey, this is what I want to do. And the differences are essentially that Osaka Kamigata rakugo is more lively, more flamboyant, it's more musical, more realistic. Often the stories are longer, more realistic portrayals, fleshed out female characters. and it really highlights the merchant class. And Osaka is a merchant center of yesteryear, whereas Tokyo was largely samurai populated, and the themes in Tokyo or Edo Rakugo revolve around samurai and journeymen who serve the upper classes. And it's more subdued, it's more of a verbal art as opposed to a musical. Stories are shorter, and a lot of the stories originally came from Kamigata, but they were kind of shaved down and trimmed down. The parts that wouldn't go over well with the Tokyo audience were trimmed.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and the rest you can find in the book.
So pretty much in terms of then the themes, and there's a lot of, because what I've noticed is when I did, well, this is for later on mini game, but when I did try to actually sort of look into just some like forms and bits of Rakugo that I could use for the activity.
You've done some research.
That there's actually like for like Jugumu there is like an Osaka version or the Kamigata particular version as well to it as well. So I think seeing the fact that actually maybe I guess other like in a way other standards I guess in terms of like the set works like the same, and instead it's or more or less the same, but they coalesce around very different sort of or kind of emphasize very different certain aspects. I think.
I don't think I've ever watched a Rakugo performance live. So for people who haven't necessarily watched any performances, what would you say to them to go in like expecting to see? Or like, are there any particular sort of storytelling conventions that maybe a Western audience would recognize from a story, or is it just a completely different theatrical art in and of itself?
It's framed as a performance art, right? So once you're in the Rakugo halls, they're called yosei, you're basically guided through. You know what to look at, know what to watch. It's a show. And so buying a ticket and sitting down, you will be entertained. Whether you understand it or not is another thing, right? But it's not only, this doesn't only go to non-Japanese people, but even younger Japanese people are a little bit uncertain about what Rakugo is, and they may have seen it on TV, or they may have heard it on the radio, or heard their family or friends talk about it. But it's kind of like, it's for mostly worse and not better. It's kind of acquired this, elite or intellectual image. Like, you can't go to watch Rakugo because you'll need all kinds of historical knowledge, or you'll need to kind of be a word buff, or you'd need to be kind of in the know and know the repertoire. And if you don't, you're going to be lost, and maybe even the performer's going to laugh at you from the stage. And that's all ridiculous, because Rakugo is and always has been an art that is performed by and for common people. Of course, we don't have those, strict class distinctions today, but it's for the everyman, right? It's for everybody who walks in off the street, who wants to be entertained. It is a shobai. It is a business by which people make their living. And if they can't keep you happy and you don't want to come back, then the performer's not doing their job. So particularly in Osaka, where there's this more of a kind of a philosophy of looking at all customers as gods, right? Sabisu seishin ga kekko tsuoi, right? Customer service is big in Osaka, and so if you go to see, and I encourage you to do this, see Rakugo in Osaka and then see it in Tokyo, and it's a very different experience. But yeah, so essentially, in short, don't be afraid. Go get a ticket. It costs about as much as a movie in Japan. And if you don't understand, it won't be, if like us, we all speak Japanese here. Even Japanese people go in there like, I didn't get that. That's okay. That's why you just kind of try to sit back and relax and take it in. Because unlike kabuki or bunraku or other forms of modern theater, where the lights go out and the house is dark, in Osaka the lights stay on. It's a communicative art. And so just like if I can see your guys' faces here in the booth, right? We are talking to each other, looking at each other. If we were in the dark and I couldn't see you, it would probably be a very difficult, different experience. So, for example, if you get totally lost by what I'm saying and I see your eyes are now glazing over, I would do something to change that up. Or I'd hand it over to Nivi-san, right? To take over because I've been talking too much, right? But it's the performer's job to monitor the audience. And from my Rakugo training, I bring that into the classroom, right? I am always watching people. If I brought one thing from Rakugo, it's keeping my eye on students. I do not want students fading away. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
I guess that means that you've practiced Rakugo before, right?
Yes.
About that, how was your experience of like performing Rakugo? Like,
Yeah, I love performing. I've long been a performer, but to get to that point, you go through an apprenticeship, right? And that was the tough part. I did 2 apprenticeships, and the first one was pretty not a real traditional experience. I went to the dressing rooms and I followed my master around. I carried his bag, but he was much older and he had other people who were looking after him all the time. And I was basically introduced by my university teacher as kind of like, well, just let this student of mine follow you around during his MA thesis and maybe give him an interview at the end of it all. So it wasn't a super formal setup, but the next time I did it, like day in and day out, I was full on pupil, and that means waking up at the crack of dawn, getting some stuff to make for breakfast, making breakfast, and then doing dishes, cleaning, all of the cleaning, house top to bottom, all of the toilets, doing a laundry, ironing, taking care of kimono, a lot of menial tasks, and very, very little Rakugo training actually. So in 2 years, I had literally one story that I learned. So how do you learn Rakugo? You learn by going to shows and constantly following your master around, and sometimes you get to hear these kind of dressing room stories, and you talk to all kinds of people, and you basically do what they call nusumige, and that's stealing the art. You hear it on the fly, and then you pick and take and apply. Because eventually you will end your apprenticeship, and then you're out in the world and you have to perform. And you're like, oh, but I didn't learn these stories. There's no excuse for that. You just got to go. And performance is always a thrill. I think of everything we do in life as a performance, right? Even if it's not Rakugo. Absolutely everything.
I feel like particularly education and maybe teaching as well is very much a direct example of like performing to other people and like interacting with other people, like sort of playing off of what they're saying and then intaking that.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just feel like it's a very interactive form, so it makes sense why, like, I think people who are into the performing arts are also good listeners and good teachers in that same sense.
That's the aim. But if you read my student evaluations, it's not a perfect, its maximum number is a 6 across the board. I've never got a perfect 6. Like, come on, what do I got to do?
I feel like it's tricky though. You can't necessarily
keep
always
everybody happy.
always be perfect at everything.
Actually, let me say one more thing, if I can, about the language part of things. One thing I've valued as a student in Japan, and also a student here, but I got this when I kind of entered the traditional sector in Japan. And have you all been to Japan? Yeah? Okay, good. So has anybody in Japan, or maybe Japanese friends here, has anybody ever complimented your Japanese?
I feel like the more you hear it, the more you treat it as a joke, though. That's sort of the vibe I get.
Or not maybe a joke, but you see where I'm going with this,
Yeah.
right?
日本語上手。
日本上手。
日本語上手ですね. And all you've said is konnichiwa.
Yeah.
And they like, oh, yes. Yeah, 日本語上手ですね. And I'm like, I haven't even finished one word.
yeah.
But it's because Japanese people are so kind and they're so nice. They want to put you at ease. They want to compliment you and praise you. But it was when I went to Japan and started studying with people in the Rakugo world. They didn't have time for me not being able to keep up or me having an accent. My shamisen teacher was the same way. There was no compliments. There was no cutting me any slack. If I said something wrong or committed a faux pas, I was taken to task for it. And that's, I think, one of the greatest experiences I've had in Japan is just being told, your Japanese is not good enough. And in fact, there was time during my PhD research when I was doing Rakugo, I was having such a good time and I was just so taken by the world. It's hard. It's cutthroat. It's constant competition. But I actually went to my professor, my master, and I broached the topic of me quitting PhD to enter the Rakugo world as a professional. And I said, I'm really thinking about this seriously. I'm like, what do you think? And he told me what Morinaga sensei told me about shamisen and Rakugo. He said, yameta hoga ii na. Yameta so. Don't. It's not for you type of thing. And I'm like, well, why not? And he said, look, here's the deal. Rakugo is not an art to watch. Rakugo wa miruge janai ne. Rakugo wa kikuge desu. It's an art to listen to. So in theory, you should be able to close your eyes and listen to Rakugo and see the world without seeing the performer on stage. And he says, how about your Japanese? Your Japanese is pretty good, but you're not a native speaker. You have an accent when you speak. I'm like, I can work on it. I can get rid of the accent. Just like I can speak in Australian, right? And so, but he said, but there are already too many performers and you would just be kind of this spectacle. He said, stick to academia, stick to your research and tell the world about us. And so that's what I did. But that was like one of the best gifts I ever got. It kind of broke my heart in the moment, but it made me want to continue with my research and got to appreciate honesty. Anyway.
Do you ever wish you could go back and become like a professional performer instead?
Yeah, sometimes. And in fact, I spend quite a bit of time in Japan, like during the breaks, and I always go back and I meet other, professional performers, have meals with them, go to their shows, go to after parties, and go and meet my master. And so part of me, just being a performer from a young age, I've often thought, what if, but they also have a saying, 落語家は10年も食えない. You won't eat for 10 years if you're a rakugoka. So essentially the first 10 years you're a struggling, starving artist. And but I don't know, we'll see. Maybe I will get to like age 50 or maybe I'll hit 55 and I'm like, okay, enough of this university business. But yes, the answer is yes. I often think, well, at least once a year.
I don't know. I feel like being sort of similar in the sense of having that sort of creative, like Kappa background. Of like you always want to go back. Like once you find yourself so immersed in the arts, you always want to like reach back. But I feel like I'm past the point of like wanting to really reconsider options. Cause if I wasn't doing engineering or Japanese, I would be doing like composition, music. But each time I have that thought, I feel like reminded by the berating I get from the fact that it's rough to get into that industry. And so that's probably why I've never really made that sort of, I guess, leap forward in that sort of aspect.
But you could, it's there. We can keep things in our life, right? And that's what sometimes we don't want to call our passions hobbies. But there's a way to keep those things in our life, and by being creative, like you guys are being creative here by presenting, this podcast to the community, right? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It's not just the time we spend here, but there's a lot that goes into it, right? And so having that reach is also something that's quite fulfilling. What would you call what you're doing here? You're not getting uni credit for this.
That is an actual thought, thought-provoking question. What would you call it, Sarah?
I mean, it's like you said, it's not really a hobby. It's also not directly, I guess maybe it's an extracurricular in that it's still connected to the university in some way.
Do you guys have a sense yet of, what kind of impact you're making? Because people are listening to this, right? And it offers them insight, into your world, into your guests' world. So yeah, it's definitely a service. And don't forget to tack this onto your CV, because I always have to tell students that, because you're putting time in, and it's great. I've been listening to the episodes, and it's great for teachers too, I think, to get the student perspective and also hear what my colleagues are up to.
I guess thinking a little bit more on that, maybe it is a way to build community. I don't know if that's just what I personally feel, but I think it's a method for me to get to know my fellow co-hosts, get to know professors, the people that we're talking to, and come together on particular topics and hear perspectives and opinions that I wouldn't otherwise get to know. So it's more of a method of building community, gaining knowledge from other people.
That was really well put. Is allowance.
Yeah. In fact, actually, I would have just regurgitated sort of the very beginning blurb of what we are as a response. But yeah, thanks so much, Shores-sensei, for providing your insights into the research background.
Such personal insights. I was just going to ask, before we move on to the mini game, would you like to end the main body with a fun fact about yourself?
A fun fact about myself. I'm a human being too. There you go. A lot of students probably don't know that, but I'm a real person. No, I'm joking. Cut that.
We should bleep that out.
Yeah. Where I say person, put a cuckoo over there. I'm a real. Here's a real what?
I'm a real.
Just use your imagination. Yeah. A fun fact about me. I don't know. I've never really thought about it. Yeah. It's fine. I don't mind being put on the spot. I thrive under pressure. I'm like chaos theory. It's my middle name. Fun fact about me is, I've basically told you everything there is to know about me. I've got 2 brothers younger than me, and I am a die-hard Minnesota Vikings fan. I am, and wanting to grow up at the age of 48. Actually, this year I canceled my subscription to the NFL Game Pass. It's like $250, $260 for the season, but I just go nuts. It's like, and my team has not been to the Super Bowl since I was born. And I was indoctrinated about the age of 7. So since 7 years old, I've been a hopeless Minnesota Vikings fan. They always go close to the end, but they never go to the championship. They've been to the championship before I was born 4 times, have never won. So they're a storied team as losers. But this might be the year. It is gonna be the year. Go Vikes.
What made you such a big fan of them?
My dad is from Minnesota. And I actually took a linguistic analysis speech test, and it turns out that my English speech is like 90-something% Minnesotan. And then the rest is like kind of standard, like Pacific Northwest. And then there's like 1 or 2% I've got a lazy R. And that comes from down south, you know. and my mom's, she's not from the south, but I think that maybe I don't know, maybe somebody in the family was originally. But like when you say spatula, you say spatula. Or if you say, I'm going to go wash my hands, I'm going to go wash my hands. Wash up. Go wash up for dinner. Right? And so apparently this linguistic analysis picked up on the fact that I had a lazy R. I'm like, who are you calling lazy? I got more energy. Man, call me lazy. You looking at? Who you talking to? How's that for a fun fact?
It's great. Thank you.
The best compliment that I receive is when I travel internationally. Talking to people in the airport, roll up, you know, go to a pub, have a pint, and you're sitting at the bar and talk a little bit, and somebody says, by the way, where in Canada are you from? And that is the best because they are saying that I'm not this loud, obnoxious, over-optimistic, you know, invincible American, right? So it means that I'm actually listening to what they have to say. And maybe they even think I'm kind of friendly. But it also has to do with the Minnesota because the long O's, you know, oh yeah, don't you know there, go over there. You want to go down there and have some popcorn, watch a movie, maybe have a Coke, soda pop. Just doing voices from my family. You can cut all that too. Fun fact.
It would be great to leave that in, I think.
So let's move on to the mini game for today. 今週のチャレンジは早口言葉です。So for this week's mini game, we'll be doing a 早口言葉 tongue twister challenge. And since we're lucky enough to have Shores-sensei with us today, who specializes in Edo period entertainment and comedy, we thought that it would be fun to try out some really early 早口言葉 from the Edo 時代.
Wow, yes, that's a lot of pressure on me.
I think we'll expect...
How about I can be the judge and you guys go for it?
No,
absolutely not. We must all do it together. We're all in this together.
So you want me to read this?
We haven't done the rules yet.
No, this is just a free-for-all.
Is this like a batsu game? If I screw up, you guys throw something at me, or?
I'm not going to say what I was just going to say.
I think originally we were thinking of a point system. So if you say it correctly, you get maybe 1 point. If you don't, then you don't get 0 points. And at the end, once we go through a couple or a few of these, whoever has the most points is officially the 早口言葉 winner.
I care about one thing. 1, winning. 2, what's the prize?
Pride.
Or
Bragging rights.
Bragging rights. Or not to get shamed.
I guess we'll do the point system.
Sure.
Should we say it 3 times or 1 time?
I think we could say it each once, but as fast as we can, maybe. Maybe it's the person who can say it the fastest each time.
Or how about we can just be nice, and if we get it, we get a point.
Maybe. But shall we run through all of them that we have today, right? So the first one that we have. So the first one isウリウリがウリウリに来てウリウリ残してウリウリ帰る. Who would like to begin?
You can go first. Oh, Shores-sensei should go first.
Should I go first?
Shores-sensei, お願いします。
ウリウリがウリウリに来てウリウリ残してウリウリ帰る.
The accent as well.
That's very good, that's very good.
Very good. じゃあネビさん。
なんで私ウリウリがウリウリに来てウリウリ残してウリウリに帰る。お、噛んじゃった。
私も噛みましたよ。はい。
はい。ではセイヤルさん。
私ウリウリがウリウリに来てウリウリ残してウリウリに帰る。
じゃあ、これの番。ウリウリがウリウリに来てウリウリ残してウリウリ帰る。
いいね、みんな。
じゃあ投票します。
What if we say it at the same time? The person we vote for. Okay, so everyone can. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Sara.
Shores-sensei.
Don't know who the winner was.
Shores-sensei.
Shores-sensei.
Got 2 votes. We got 1.
Is this like power dynamics at work here.
Politics at play.
None of you are currently in my classes, and I may or may what, because you're all graduating in not too long, right?
Surely that makes us more truthful.
I may or may not teach you again. So, anyway, shall we go to the next one?
Let's go to the next one, shall we? So the next one comes from actually an excerpt from, I still cannot pronounce this to this day,
Uiro uri.
Uiro-uri.
Nothing to do with the previous line.
Would you like to actually, Shores-sensei, would you like to provide a bit of background on?
Uiro uri is a very short kabuki play. It's one of the great 18 plays of kabuki that was performed by the Danjiro, the Ichikawa Danjiro family, and it's still performed to this day. And it's famous for a long scene that the performer, the actor, performs a long tongue twister. And I probably shouldn't say this because I'm not going to be able to do this very well, but I actually performed in this play, and I did the whole monologue.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway,
Pressure's on then.
but I don't know if I'll be able to do it. It's been years.
Alright, so let's read this together. I've not looked at this at all.
Together?
Oh no, well, actually, I guess I'll introduce it then. So this excerpt is, Ochiya tachi yo, cha tachi yo, chiatsu tachi yo, cha tachi yo.
Okay.
Ocha tacho.
Or maybe I'm misreading it.
Yeah. So
Ocha da.
so ocha tacho, cha tacho, chatto tachio, cha tacho.
I forgot, I realized,
Wait,
wait,
there's
no,
no little two.
no, because I forgot this is from the Edo Jidai, so I forgot to, let's say, modernize the, I think.
Do we have to say it with the little two?
I think we
Yes.
have to.
Yep.
Ochatacho.
Ocha
Ochatacho
tacho.
ね。Okay.
で、cha tacho.
Chatacho.
Oh.
Chatto tacho.
チャットタ
Tacho.
ッチョ
Cha tacho.
チャタッチョ
Ochatacho. Chacha.
Just gotta go.
Let me try.
はい、どうぞ。
Ochatacho. Chatacho. Chatto tacho. Chatato.
おお
世界じゃないの。うん。That sounded good.
いいね
おー、じゃあ、おっちゃたっちょ、ちゃたっちょ、ちゃたっちょ、ちゃたっちょじゃなくて、そうじゃなくて、なんで。No, I cut this
うん
one.
私ちょっと忘れてた OK すまちゃんお茶タッチョチャタッチョチャットタッチョチャタッチョ
お茶タッチョ、茶タッチョ、チャットタッチョ、茶タッチョ。
おー、すごい。
ちょっと遅いね。
でも、
なんか勢いでね、ちょっともうパッとリズムを取って。
カウントダウンね
じゃあ、3、2、1。Shores-sensei。はい、2票、一応。
なんで
はい。
あります
Yeah, 次は the next one is also a little excerpt from I still cannot pronounce Uiro. And this one, hopefully I can read this one now. I don't know if I can.
Uiro, by the way,
Uiro.
is a medicine.
Oh.
Yeah, so uiro. And basically traveling salesmen would carry these big packs that said uiro on the sides, and they would sell it. They would call out, like the actor in the story, uiro! And people would hear that, and, you know, like, there are a lot of vendors that went around with their, hawking and calling. And so, yeah, uiro, for your information, is an old type of medicine, and they still make it and sell it. You can buy uiro. It's kind of like a cure-all. It's stomach medicine. It's throat medicine. It's something to, like, yeah, perk you up a bit. Maybe there's caffeine in there too. I don't know.
All right, the next one. Nivi, would you like to try and read that one out for me?
It's Mugi, right?
It's Mugi, yeah, I think so, right?
The next one is 麦ゴミ麦ゴミ3麦ゴミ合わせて麦ゴミ6麦ゴミ Right?
Mu,
Mumugi.
mumugi gomi. と、みむぎゴミ。
6えどこ
これね。Mumugi gomi. これは6じゃなくて。
ああガレガレガレできる
I think the sun is mi, is it? Mimugi? Mimugi gomi?
そう、み麦ゴミ。そう。
Sorry, guys.
ではじゃあ私からお話します。麦ゴミ、麦ゴミ、み麦ゴミ、合わせて麦ゴミ、む麦ゴミ。難しいや。
麦ゴミ。えIt's okay, I give up.
OK じゃあレビさん。
Fail.
Okay. 麦ゴミ、み麦ゴミ、合わせて麦ゴミ。Can I do it one more time?
Go for
OK
it.
OK
Okay. So it's麦ゴミ, right?
Yep.
Okay. 麦ゴミ、み麦ゴミ、合わせて麦ゴミ、む麦ゴミ。
Nice.
おー
麦ゴミ、み麦ゴミ。合わせて麦ゴミ、むぐぐみゴミ。あ、最後間違えた。むぐみじゃあ、
You can do it again.
give up.
はい、では投票します。せーの。リビさん。じゃあ、let's move on to the final one now. So the final one is just an excerpt from the name from Jigemu. I think everyone is quite familiar with Jigemu because I feel like it's being memeified to
There's a
death.
song as well.
There's a song as well,
日
right?
本笑顔百景。
Mm.
It's like a stop.
So this is how it goes. ジュゲムジュゲムここのすり切れ、海砂利水行の水行松、雲来松、風来松、くねるところに住むところ、ブラ工事のブラ工事、パイポの修林岩の牛林台、牛林台のポンポクピーのポンポクパーの超救命の超助。
はい、ニクソンさんの勝ち。
Okay, who goes first?
じゃあ、リビさん、who would like to volunteer to go first?
Or I'll go.
お
But you want to go or do you want me to go? You can go.
I don't mind.
Okay, go for it.
Because if you go first, I'll feel too intimidated.
You got this.
Okay. ジゲムジグム極のすりから海砂利水の水行松、雲霊松、風霊松、くんねるところに住むところ、やぶら工事のブラ工事、パイポの修林岩のグリーン台のポンポク B のポンポクナグの超救命の超助。
すげえすげえ That was
Where did she come from?
Holy cow.
You've done this before.
Yep.
So this is a traditional rakugo story, right? It's the line that gets repeated over and over again and faster throughout the rakugo story. And I've heard this story told probably 50 times. And I've never done it. So this is my first time ever, the rakugo scholar, to actually try to read Jugemu. I don't even know. What is it?
ここのすり切れ
Goko no surikire. What is it?
海砂利水行
Say I give up. See, this is something I've heard people do this so well. I'm like a deer in headlights. It's like something that you were good.
Yeah, that was amazing, honestly.
Where did you learn that?
So, you know how I mentioned earlier that there's a song called Nippon Egao Hyakke?
Yeah.
Literally the first part of that song is this jigeme thing. And me and my friend took it on ourselves in year 11 to actually learn the words to the first part because it was like trending.
Have you seen the rakugo story?
No.
You have to. It's
amazing.
It's online. But you know, if you go to like 3 rakugo shows, like over 3 days or something, you always hear jugeme at least once. And it's usually for younger performers to perform. It's to build your narrative chops, right? And so, see, you were talking about following me, but me following you, I was like, holy, how do I follow that?
No, I didn't say the last part properly because I ran
No,
out
you
of
read it.
breath.
超救命の超助 That was right. There was nothing wrong with that.
I can do it better, but I won't do it again.
You gonna go for this?
No, I think there's a clear winner.
No, have a go.
Alright, you want me to try and speed run this? I don't know how.
Have a go.
Just need to prepare myself. ジグムここのすぎりが海砂利水行松、雲来松、風来松、空内のところに住むところ、やぶら工事のブラ工事、パイポの修林岩の牛林台のポンポクピーのポンポクパナーの超救命の超助。
Whoa, that was better than
Nah,
mine.
that was no. That was I almost screwed up in the pompocpino pompocnano is like
That's
such.
my favorite part.
But that bit is the hardest bit to say.
When I did it, I forgot to take a breath before doing it, and then I forgot that I won't be able to breathe during it.
So you know what Jugemu is?
I thought it means like
this entire.
just the name, right?
It's the person's name.
Yes.
And in the Rakugo story, they ask somebody to give him, an auspicious name. So they tack on all the auspicious names they can think of, and it ends up being this incredibly long, ridiculous name. It's very auspicious. And so that's the fun of the Rakugo is they go through and friends come over and mother needs to call the Jugemu who's still asleep, and then he gets into trouble and the teacher has a word with him, and so his name gets repeated over and over again and they have to go faster and faster, so it's a matter of just being able to keep up. Yeah. Wow. I'm going to give up Rakugo research now.
Well, wait, we haven't chosen
You've
the winner
ruined me.
yet.
No. We all know who the winner will be. 3, 2, 1. Nibi-san!
With the honorable mention, that was pretty impressive.
Yes,
Nixon.
very
Son.
impressive.
I was
feel
more
like yours was better than
No,
mine.
I was more surprised by the fact that you know how to do it quickly because I didn't realize.
I mean, in the song, it's like a rap. It's like really fast. But
Also,
do we have
shout
any-
out to Shores-sensei for bringing in that particular sort of performative quality with the
Yes.
That was amazing.
And also the depth of knowledge as well
Yep.
behind the background with some of these as well.
and the corrections, because
Thanks
we
for the
didn't write
corrections
it right.
because we did not research this properly.
No, Nixon researched it really well. We just didn't write it properly in this.
It's probably actually written like this. If you found, because they didn't have the Chisai Yo and Chisai Tsu in the Edo period, and diacritical marks, there often wasn't punctuation marks in a lot of Edo texts. And pre-Edo, good luck, because you don't have the Dakuten and things like that.
Yeah, that's something what I've completely forgotten from my classical Japanese.
You haven't forgotten anything.
No, okay.
He was
I-
basically teaching
no,
the
no,
class.
no.
So I guess our final winner would be.
Nibi-san.
Sure.
And
Both of you.
Obviously it's you.
Naruto-mo.
Obviously.
You did it way better than me.
So we're splitting the prize money?
Okay, yep, we'll do that. What is the prize?
Pride.
Pride.
Oh, I thought
We'd
it
have
We have the
pride.
half pride.
half pride.
Half pride.
That's the story of my life.
Before we end today's episode, let's take a look back to last week's question. So last week's question was, what flavor was Anthony's drink last week? 正解は
チョコレート味のプロテインシェイキ。Yay!
This week's question, in addition to classical music, what other types of music does Yonezawa sensei enjoy? I wonder what it is.
Gangster rap. You can cut that, seriously.
We should bleep it. Cuckoo.
I do like gangster rap. That's for next
That's
episode.
another fun
Next episode.
本日シドニー大学放課後ティータイムエピソード9いかがでしたか？
If you want to stay updated, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or our Spotify page. You can also follow our Instagram, usid.teatime.
For our Japanese studies students at USYD, you can also stay updated on our Japanese e-community Canvas page.
では本日のエピソードを聞いていただきありがとうございました。また次のエピソードでお会いしましょう。せーの。またねー。